Hey everyone, PushingUpRoses here, and welcome to Spooky Month! I'm excited to show you guys a new game I recently had the pleasure of playing, and it just so happens to have a spooky vibe and features ghosts. It's called The Phantom Fellows, and it is silly, smart, cozy, and nice to look at, which are all things that have been used to describe me. Except for those last three things. Do you like chonky pixels? Do you like laughing? Do you like to have fun? Then you might like this game, or you might like my insightful rambling that will likely go on for the next 10 or so minutes. The Phantom Fellows was developed by Strummer Games, which consists of one dev named Paul Corman, who impressively did all the art, writing, and music. I discovered this title a couple years ago and was intrigued because at the time, I had just finished another chonky pixel art game called The Dark Side Detective, and I've taken quite a shine to this art style. Later on, I became friends with the developer, and even though he is my pal, and I like his work a lot, he is not safe from snarky PushingUpRoses critique. No one is safe. No one. But I digress. Let's take a look at the story. Set in Elderberry, Colorado, you play as Oliver Cobblestone and Engelbert Picklebender. One of them is a ghost. Can you guess which one? Together, they have this kind of paranormal detective agency called the Phantom Fellows, with a mission slightly similar to the Ghostbusters. They don't bust ghosts per se, but they do find the unrested spirit and convince it to move on so that their clients aren't constantly scared to death of strange happenings in their homes. Hi, Basket. Are you my little ghost kitty cat? Engelbert is the only ghost Oliver can see and communicate with, so Engelbert is the one who talks to other spirits, while Oliver talks to clients and helps with inventory object puzzles. And trust me, there's a lot of inventory in this game, some of which is completely useless, just like adventure games past. Seriously, I carried around this stuffed rabbit and found no use for it, but I feel better with a full inventory. It's like a full stomach. Comforting and bulky. This game takes place over a week's time with multiple chapters, each one with their own little story and purpose. The first one serves more as a tutorial so you can learn the game's controls. You'll find right away that you control both Oliver and Engelbert, which honestly made me angsty at first because I do not like playing as multiple characters. Like most gamers, I played Maniac Mansion when I was younger, and I got so overwhelmed by controlling 3 characters at once, especially since you need to do that to solve puzzles. But I was pleasantly surprised to find that the mechanic used here is more intentional. You won't find yourself guessing too much on who to play as. I think the game does a great job of making it obvious when you might need to switch your character. In fact, the way this game is structured and laid out is brilliant. I can tell, with maybe one exception, that the dev was not a fan of backtracking, so the puzzles are designed smartly with settings, doors, and objects close to each other or easy to get to. It's actually hard to articulate exactly what I mean here. It's just very easy to play and navigate, which I appreciate. Now, there is one screen where backtracking is just a little annoying, and that's when you find a ghost train and the door to the train is all the way at the end. And as much as I like looking at this cool train, I don't like it enough to keep walking to that door. While you are helping ghosts cross over, you are also unraveling another overarching storyline involving a love interest Oliver meets in Chapter 2. It's really adorable. And is it just me, or are blonde girls with glasses just the best? I mean, they really are just the best. I don't know what's compelling me to say that, but don't you just think? I did get a little stuck a couple times, but there is a hint system in place. You can always ask Engelbert for advice if you're lost, so I didn't need a walkthrough. I could talk more about the art style and the puzzle design, but those things are not what shines the most in this game. It's the writing that gives it its personality, and there is a lot of it. The dev informed me that there is around 18,000 lines of dialogue. This is going to be a bit wordy for some people, but I will say that because the game is humorous and the characters are personable, it's definitely more fun to read than other dialogue-heavy games. I'm looking at you, Discworld. I love you, but you talk too much. The humor is what I like to call millennial humor, which I want to establish is not a slight. I'm a millennial myself, and this is the type of humor that reminds me of my generation. It's fast and somewhat excitable, it's full of one-liners and terse replies, and even though it's exaggerated for humor's sake, it actually reminds me of a playful text message conversation between 2 really good friends. Games don't always make me laugh out loud. Most of the time, I am laughing mentally, and every now and then, I might crack a smile, but Phantom Fellows did get audible laughs from me every now and then. There's a joke I always go back to that perfectly captures my type of humor, and it comes from the brilliant Golden Girls. Dorothy's ex-husband, Stan Spornak, visits the house and says he is a new Stan. Sophia, Dorothy's elderly mother, responds with,
"Great, I'll take a People magazine and a Morning Herald."
And Dorothy, in her dry timbre, says,
"Ma, he is not a newsstand. He's a new stand."
bottle up the essence of that joke and you have something very similar to this game. One of the jokes I laughed out loud at was during a conversation between Oliver Engelbert and a ghost magician named Augustini. Have you seen some of her? I've seen all of her. Huh? Me? No, not you. Oliver. There's another Oliver in here? I think this dialogue perfectly portrays the comedic energy of this game. There's actually an entire chapter dedicated to interrogation and mystery in the vein of Gabriel Knight or the Dagger of Amon-Ra, which I personally appreciate because I love those games and I love mystery, though this chapter is definitely the wordiest of the chapters. I do like that each chapter has its own set of different challenges. You have this one, which is a mystery story. You have one that features a ghost squirrel haunting an old bar, and I just gotta say, it is absolutely the cutest. Ghost squirrels are my new favorite thing. Look at his tail twitch! In one chapter, you're helping dead magicians find peace. I really like all these settings, and even though they're compartmentalized, they are connected in a bigger way. The characters know each other, you run into some of them multiple times, and you can revisit locations if you want, even if you don't have to. I highly suggest you do revisit previous settings because things change and character dialogue changes. It's really nice. That's why the world that was built here is just great, because things do change and move, it feels alive. Exploration is encouraged and rewarded. In fact, there are 100 achievements in this game, and I am one of them. My mother would be very proud.
My mother's very proud.
The music sounds distinctly 80s. I found myself vibing a lot to the synthy soundtrack. I believe this game takes place around 1990, so the music is apropos. That being said, even though I mostly have positives to say about this game, I do have a few criticisms. Most obvious to me is that even though the settings aren't that big, I would have liked to have been able to double click around the sides of the screen to teleport to the next one. It's not the biggest deal, but I did find myself walking across screens and instinctually double clicking because a lot of adventure games tend to do this. Here's what it looks like in the modern indie adventure game Voodoo Detective. And even though sometimes there is an exit pop-up that indicates there's another section to see, I'd like it to also, again, pop up on the side of the screen so I know where all exits available are. It just really saves on that backtracking time, even though I really like these backgrounds. I also think that due to the nature of the chonky pixel art, sometimes the portraits blend together to me. So there were a few instances where I didn't realize who was talking and I got my dialogue a little mixed up. I think there's a few simple fixes for this. The text itself can be a different color to indicate the character has changed, or the outline of the portraits can be different colors. Because there isn't voice acting in this game and I'm focused on reading, I don't always fully catch the portrait in my periffs, as I like to call it. Again, it's not a deal breaker, it's just something that would polish this up even more. Some of the puzzles seemed a little obtuse to me, and I think if your brain wasn't absolutely warped by games like King's Quest V where solutions made no sense and you had to adapt, then you may find some of these a little challenging or frustrating, even with a hint system. But take comfort in knowing that there are no dead ends in this game, there are plenty of save slots, and sometimes the game auto-saves in sections where there might be an alternate solution, making it easy to go back and try multiple things. For example, you need to get past this salty security guard and you can either try smooth talk or violence. I chose violence. So, final thoughts. This is a very well done game by a solo dev filled with a lot of heart. It does have some flaws, but most art does, and in this case my qualms were mostly with the UI and not the narrative. It does get wordy, but the dialogue has such energy and humor, making it a little more breezy to read through. I know it's tempting to compare this game to retro titles since it does have similarities in art and UI, but if you want my opinion, this does not remind me of anything I've played in the past. I think chonky pixels are more modern and reminiscent of modern games like The Dark Side Detective and The Last Door, and the content and dialogue itself is unique enough where I wouldn't compare it to any of those old point-and-clickies. I can tell where the influences are. You can have your character walk like a janitor, a nod to Space Quest. You use your notebook like in Dagger of Amon-Ra, but I do think this still reads as modern and it's a title with its own identity. Though I'll end on this, if you like the art style of The Dark Side Detective and The Last Door, then you'll love how this game looks and you'll enjoy exploring each screen, and if you like quirky, silly humor with some lowbrow jokes sprinkled in, then the writing is also for you. I put around 7 hours into the game and haven't poked around to find the achievements yet, so it's got a good amount of gameplay for the price. Although one night I did leave the game running and now it thinks I put in 40 hours. I hope you give this title a look and tell me what you think. If you find the per achievement, do show me. And I see this video review will get both of my send-offs, so until next time, stay spooky and happy sleuthing. Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video on the Phantom Fellows. I hope you enjoyed it and feel inspired to give it a try. If you want to see more reviews from me, I have so many I can't keep track of them. But first, a loving shout out to my patrons, because if not for them, I wouldn't have been able to order that pizza last week. If you want to support the show and ensure I do more gaming reviews, consider donating to my campaign, and if not, likes, shares, and comments kinda do it for me. If you want to see more from me, I put a couple suggestions on the screen for you. On the left, we have a video from my flagship series, That Time on Murder, She Wrote, and on the right, we have the last indie adventure game I talked about called Strange Horticulture, truly a witchy experience. Thanks again, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.